Hey, Pastor Steve Waldron. I want to talk to us a little bit on the subject of eternity today. What is eternity? It's been said that it's very difficult for temporal people to comprehend eternity. And this is in a classical sense seen in the question, who made God? Because in our finite minds, eternity would be in the realms of infinite, not necessarily infinite power, but we won't go into all of that, but in the realms of the infinite. So we're like, well, everything had to start from something, so where did God come from? And is that Freud, the old Freudian kind of question is framed as who made God, who made who, and the totem and taboo and Moses and monotheism, that we had the need to create an overman to have laws and nurture in our lives and all of this. And so eternity, it's maybe a little more difficult to define than you might think. Maybe it's not for you. But if you say it's a place where there is no time, okay. Some people make a very sharp distinction between everlasting and eternity, that people are not eternal because we didn't exist in the past. We came into being at a certain rate and time, created, and so then we're everlasting, but not necessarily eternal, because eternal would imply no beginning and no ending. And really, to me, and there may be some problems with that, but the best definition of eternity I know of is no beginning and no ending. And so there's only one being that fits that bill, is God, because everything else, whether it's Satan, angels, archangels, watchers, principalities, powers, anything else, of course, humans, creation, matter, everything has a beginning but God. And so when it says in the beginning, what was before that? God. And God is self-sustaining. He doesn't need anything else. God is love. The Bible says no man ever yet hated his own self, but loved himself, Ephesians 5, self-love. So he didn't need. People say, well, he needed an object to love. Well, himself. If you say he needed, then he's not God, because God, by definition, doesn't need anything. He's self-sustaining. This is one of the bases for monotheism. And so eternity is really no beginning, no ending. And I'm not totally sure. I've studied this some, but I haven't done the study the way I'd like to in the Bible. That if the Bible refers, I don't know that the Bible makes the sharp distinction between everlasting and eternal, or if that's a theological distinction. But I think, and I hear some people clarify it, and this I don't think this is a biblical term, but I think it's just a point of clarification, eternity future, meaning you're going to a place that is no end. And who was it? Was it Moody that said, if you can get somebody to think about eternity for 5 minutes, you can convert them? And it's been my personal experience. I'm 57, this is 223. But that's really true, because most people get caught up in the day-to-day, caught up in the busyness of their life, get caught up in the rat race, the gerbil cage, pleasure, exercise, money, relationships, and they're not really in tune that they're not just material. It all goes back to when I studied this, Thomas Hobbes, the organic development of the brain, and he was kind of against the Cartesian dualism that man is body, but he also has a spiritual side too, which is eternal in the sense that it is eternal future. You have a soul and it is eternal, or it's everlasting, and it's going to reside in one of two places, heaven or hell. We could go into nuances, lake of fire, new heavens, new earth, all this. Let's just use the common big denominators, heaven or hell. And so really this life, the best thing we do is make our soul right. I mean, we can be worth millions of dollars, we can get the biggest degrees and all that, accomplish everything, and he who has the most toys still dies. Death's still very real. And this is no matter how much AI, how much uploading, how much our brains to computers, how much cryogenics, freezing our bodies, you still die. And so preparing for eternity is the most important thing. I remember reading about atheism in the 16 and 1700s, and one of the big things, they could never get atheists when they're on their deathbed. They always recant, because they were like, yeah, and so it would be a real big thing. There was actually an atheist who made it to death, renouncing God, because they start getting cold feet. I mean, you're going to reside somewhere. And I know of Satanists who believe that. They just think they're on the winning side. So anyhow, God bless you. Thanks for being here. Check out our other videos and keep praying. Make your eternity right. Your calling and election sure. Bye-bye.